Thanks for joining me in this video. This video, I would like to discuss very briefly some of the most important documents you want to include when you file a labor market impact assessment application, also known as the LMIA application. So I'm just going to look on my screen here and tell you briefly. So obviously the first is a job offer. The job offer from the employer has to be on company letterhead, it has to be signed, it has to be dated. You have to include that the position is full-time, permanent if it is, or full-time temporary. A full description of the occupation with a detailed list of duties that the employee will be performing. Potentially also include the NOC that the employee will be assigned to. So if, let's say, it's a position and the NOC is 1111, then you want to say that's the position and this is the NOC and these are the duties. And also include the salary and any benefits that will be paid out to the employee. So that's a very obvious document that needs to be included because that's what your forms are going to reflect, and that's what the officer, if it's going to be in a positive LMIA, it's going to go based on that job offer. Make sure that when you do offer the position, you look at the prevailing wage, and based on the prevailing wage, you want to make that offer. If the position is below the prevailing wage, you can still file the application, but your chance of success are pretty much it's going to be very, very low. You want to either do as the prevailing wage or higher than the prevailing wage. If it is going to be lower than the prevailing wage, you need to explain why the salary is below the prevailing wage, and hope that the officer will accept that. So going forward, you also need to include the most recent T4 summary and tax returns of the company. You need to include the business license, like the articles of incorporation, for example. You need to include a lease agreement to show where the position is going to take place and where the company is operating, so place of business essentially. A T2 Schedule 10 balance sheet information, and for corporations, obviously, because that's for corporations, you need T2 Schedule or 100 balance sheet information, and it's for the last 2 years that you need. A Schedule 125, which is the income statement information. Again, this is reserved for corporations, and you need 2 years of that. And if there's any provincial licensing that's required, so if a particular trade requires a license and your company has that information, you want to include that, as well as any workplace safety insurance compensation and things like that. The other thing you want to include is the payroll remittance statement or also known as the PD7A for the past 12 months. These are the essential documentation, and majority are related to the corporation, to the company. Obviously, there's other documentations like the postings that you've done and conducted for the last 4 weeks. You want to ensure that there's at least 3 postings done, one of them being the job bank. The other 2 are your choice of where you're going to post a position. Definitely look at what kind of position you're providing and where candidates will be looking for when they apply for that position. So for example, if it's a position, a remote position, then you want to include it in newspapers. Or if it's an engineering position, you want to include it possibly with the Engineer Association or something like this, so that candidates, Canadian candidates particularly, have access to the postings and have access to applying for it. Obviously, there's other documentation that you should include as well, perhaps a passport data page of the applicant that you're looking to hire, and any other things that you've put in the posting that is specific to that position. So let's say if you require 2 years of experience, you want to ensure that the applicant has that 2 years experience and include those documentation. So again, if you look at it, there's really 3 sets of documents that the officer looks at. One is based on the company, so corporate documentation. The second is based on the efforts that the company has made, so postings and so forth. And the third is applicant documents to show that the applicant meets the requirements and meets whatever requirements you've posted on the postings. If you have any questions, or if you're looking at potentially hiring a candidate, or if you're the applicant and you have a job offer and you require assistance, we're here to help. Give us a call. We're here for you, and we're here to assist you with any immigration needs. Until next time.